It's not even showing. Oh, that's stupid. Oh wow. Nice. It's not even showing. Wow. Okay. Well, welcome folks to the Three Black Heathen show. Imp and Nate are running behind, and you are definitely looking at my blinds right now. That's
I thought those were my blinds. I'm like, I don't know what was going on.
yeah. No, I see. Your blinds are vertical, and mine
That's
are
true.
horizontal. So that's really what it is. So anyway, 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 you were just recently called out. Not even an hour ago, someone was trying to get your attention, from what I heard, and they were having some technical difficulties of their own. Uh,
Yeah, our, our good friend, and we pull for him. We try our best, but he's trying to call out some dude on his live channel. He's like, just get a hold of me at. Can we say his name? Is that cool? Not his first name, obviously,
oh,
but
go
his.
for it. Yeah, yes.
Yeah. He's like, Canadian atheist. I'm on Skype right now. G-Man32. So I do what people do. We go on Skype, and he ain't on G-Man32. He's on his regular, G-Man account. So I send him a message. He's like, "Oh, positive guys, why'd you come in here?" He tried to call me, but I was doing your show, so I couldn't answer the phone. But it was kind of funny how, again, he's lying again. He's trying to make himself the winner, where people kind of know how he works now, and it doesn't look good for him. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious, and I was like, "Oh shit, does he
I
does he
had to
not
send that to
know?"
you.
I was like, "Oh, wow." There we go. I found the webcam. It's now that
Oh, turn around.
yeah, it keeps turning itself the wrong way because it's on top. It's actually on top of an Xbox. Believe it or not, it's on top of
No,
the
you want to
Xbox.
how? No, do you want to how ghetto I am? I have my cell phone resting on top of my laptop with one of those popper things. So if
Nice.
I'm a little, yeah, so I fit right in. We're all ghetto here.
That's we'll get it working. We'll get it working. So uh okay, folks are streaming in now. Okay, awesome. What's going on, Casey Atheist, Lavitz person? I definitely don't know who that is. What's up with two shades lighter Prince? Actually, no. I never got a chat. Like my wife is a big Prince fan, so
Oh, sure.
I know When Doves Cry, and I think I know maybe one other song that I evidently I don't know it because I can't remember it right now. So no, I am a bandwagon Prince type person.
If if she's a big fan, I could send her files and guarantee when she's done, she looked completely different that
I,
she's never heard before.
you know what, my wife, my dear, would you enjoy some secret Prince files? Would you enjoy that? Sure. Okay. You better
Sure.
pretend to be excited. I thought you tired. I thought you loved Prince. I do, but I'm tired. Like okay, I'd be excited.
I've
So,
met those women too. Cause
so
it's 4 o'clock in the morning and he's still playing and they're tired, but they're just still sticking around for the gig. So I've seen plenty of those shows.
oh. So yeah, so like I said, I was supposed to play a video that Monty made for us, and Monty, I think there's an issue with, and this has happened when I try to stream from Discord the first time, is that hardware acceleration is on, and for some reason it can't capture whatever I'm trying to screen share. So I think if I play around with it and find the hardware acceleration wherever it might be, if it's on, turn it off, and it might work. But it was just a tribute to, and if you saw the title, Nipsey Hussle, who is a rapper. Not everyone might know who he is. I've heard a few of his songs. I wasn't a huge fan myself, but he's one of the rare guys who, and I did know this about him, is that he made it big and he went back to where he came from and said, you know what, hey, I want to make this area better. And so he invested and created jobs, all types of opportunities for people to succeed. And as it turns out, he was murdered earlier this week. And so there's all type of articles, and from that spawned a whole slew of conspiracies. Now they have the suspect in custody. People know who the guy is, and I have his name here in a minute. Mr. Holder. Yeah, Holder was arrested in Los Angeles on Tuesday. Has since been charged with 1 count of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, and 1 count of possession of a firearm by a felon. His bond is $5 million. An unidentified female who drove Holder away from the crime scene is being questioned. Was questioned and released. And so his funeral was supposed to take place on Thursday at the Staples Center, so they can accommodate everybody. And that's just how big of an influence Nipsey Hussle was in his area. So, oops, let's start playing. So there's a time set where we play on our show. Okay, yeah. So if y'all want to see it, definitely check out Hannibal Monty show, because I can't get this shit to work, but it's definitely a good mix. I had some Black Panther clips and all kind of shit in there. So on that note, I'll let Emperor, since he's a music guy, that's his industry. I'm gonna let him talk about Nipsey some more, and then of course Nate's gonna add in. But I'm gonna conduct my part. Mr. Positively Godless, how you doing?
Yes, sir. I'm good. I'm good.
So,
Thank you for inviting me on.
oh no, not a problem, not a problem. A lot of people are kind of coming into the G plus. Well, no longer
The
G.
what?
I can't even call it that. It's gone now. The online debate, skeptic, religious
Mm-hmm.
community, amorphous type thing deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, people. I met a whole bunch of people today who had no idea who Christopher Mowdy was, and I was like, oh, how could you not know about the Mott? Oh,
Who is that? Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Oh, you don't. Oh, come on. You don't know who Chris? Come on. You have
Never heard
no.
of him.
Oh man, it's
Even if he has been on our show twice, I've never heard of him.
never heard of the Mutt. He is the man, the
No,
myth, the legend.
dude, I'm kidding.
I
I'm
know.
kidding.
That's
I
but
just hope
no.
he's watching this because I want to bust his balls even more.
Yeah,
Because
no.
I was offended because I thought I was gonna be the first white dude in the Three Back Heathens.
Well, he's the one that helped us set this up, so we had to give
Oh,
him priority. We had to definitely give him
no, still,
priority, unfortunately.
still screw him. Screw
Yeah,
him.
fuck Mowdy.
No.
But so let's just start from the beginning. Let's start from the beginning. So a little
Yeah.
bit of background. How did you even come into disbelief, or where let's describe where you're at and how you got there.
I got there kind of like how a child gets to Santa Claus. It just starts, things aren't adding up when you're 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever the age is where you start to, things aren't adding up, and you fake it in high school because you want to belong. You're in the youth groups and stuff like that. But deep down, like, what am I doing? You go to revivals and people are falling over and speaking in tongues, which I had no idea what that was. It was kind of scary. But it just, in the back of my mind, I just thought there was something off. So it wasn't until maybe 10 years ago, I was just kind of like, okay, I don't believe in a God, but I didn't know what that word was yet. I had no idea what that word meant, what an atheist was, until maybe 10 years ago. So it was just kind of like, it just evolved, if I could say that word.
Yeah, no, that word works for a lot of purposes. Trust me.
Right. Yeah. So that's my journey, and I hate that word too.
There's gonna be a lot of music puns. I can already tell. A lot of
Yeah.
just anyway. So
Just a small town girl. Sorry.
well, no, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned coming to that at a young age. I was having a rare father-son moment because I leave my son to his own devices. He's a good kid. He keeps to himself. So I had often just have to go, okay, let me go in and do some parenting since he's not destructive or loud. So I was having to shave his head because he's getting older and he's developing some of the bad genes that I have up here on the scalp area.
Sure.
So now he looks like a cancer patient. But he and I were discussing something quite odd during this haircut. And he said, or he asked, where do people come from? And I go, fuck.
Well, literally,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So I was like, okay, so he's asking me this question. So I'm like, I don't want to explain the birds and the bees to him just yet. He's
Right.
7 going on 8. I said, let me wait a little while. He has an idea because he did say that, and this is going to come back around, folks. Don't worry. That his friend told him that when mommies eat a lot, they get a baby. He said that doesn't make any sense. So he's already expressing skepticism. And so I told
Yeah.
him, I said, well, people have a lot of ideas about where we humans came from. So some people believe in God, and I started off with that because he'd be most familiar with that. And I said, have you heard of God? He said, oh yeah, I've heard people talk about that on YouTube and and Roblox. And so okay, so I'd imagine he run across that, and so he has somewhat of a concept of God, but he goes, "Yeah, I don't know if I believe that." I was like, "Oh, okay." And this
Yeah.
is without my influence. I said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna let you talk to your Mimi and his grandparents, Mimi and Pops, and
Mhm.
I'll let them teach you about God." But Daddy, yeah, Daddy doesn't buy that either. So I try to give him the really, really distilled version of how we came to be as Homo sapiens, and that was probably one of the most challenging things to do for a child because trying to break it down to explain it to them. And so I had to start with these things that look like germs. Eventually they started trying to copy themselves, and they're not really good at it, so they kind of make mistakes. But eventually through some of these mistakes, they get different things, just like you're not a copy of mommy and daddy. These things weren't a copy, and so on and so forth. So that's how I try to communicate it. But it was so surprising that his mind was already starting to think critically about certain claims. But I say, okay, just don't believe what everybody says. Evaluate. I think I told him to stay skeptical. I taught him the word skeptical so that he
Mhm.
can then go forth and begin to evaluate these claims. But no, that's what your story reminds me of. But so
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned your kid because if I may have the same or the similar story about my kid,
yeah.
my kid's a victim of divorce, um, and both him and my, or both me and his mom, are atheists, but we never talked to him about it. So we're driving home one day about 6, 7, 8 years ago, and he just says, "Dad, like, yeah, I have something to tell you." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "I don't believe in God." And I asked him why, and he told me. And I then, as a bad father as I am, I said, "Welcome to reality."
Yes, but yeah, and that's the very
But
thing my wife wanted me to avoid. No, don't impress upon him. Which I said, no, I didn't. I told him where I stand, and I told him to take his time, and that I'm going to let him talk to his grandparents, about that. So
sure. But no, I also encourage him. I said, read up on stuff. I mean, I joke with him, and him and I have a very close relationship, and I kind of jokingly said that. But he did his research. He looked around. He's like, "No, I don't believe in this." I'm like, okay, that's cool.
yeah, and it's interesting to have people come, and he might change his mind. You never know.
Right.
But just encouraging them, and ironically enough, that's one of the lessons that I learned coming into this arena here, and that's what I wanted to
Mhm.
shift to in a second. My first entrance into this whole debate scenario thing that we do was me talking to Aaron Raw about how do you raise a child as a skeptic, by and not you're not forcing what you disbelieve upon them. And so he gave me some very, very encouraging words, and including to start my own YouTube channel. And I'm still following some of those encouraging words too.
Yeah.
So how did you end up entering or finding this weird section of the internet?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know how I even found G plus, or I think it was doing research to do our show when we decided to do it, and I was seeing all these hangouts, and it said G plus in the corner, I think, or something like that, and I ended up finding it, and uh, it was just maybe finding you or JD Kane. Is he still alive, by the way? JD?
JD is alive.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
If people are genuinely curious where he's at, I know exactly where he's at. He's on Facebook and he's in certain groups. The Defending
Oh yeah, I do.
Presuppositionalism group is where he mostly stays.
Oh, okay, no, I'm just kidding. But just like meeting really wonderful people, and I'm the type of person that I don't like to just say, okay, I'm only going to hang out with these type of people, which are non-believers. I'm going to explore.
Hey, y'all. Oh,
Hey, man, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, there?
Hey, what's up? We started, man. What's going on?
Not much, man.
You all right?
I'm good.
What time we starting, Dre?
Oh, we live now. We live now.
We live now.
Yeah.
What the hell is Nick?
He said he'll be here in 10 minutes. He's going to be in 10 minutes, man.
Are we actually live right now? What happened to our other system?
That's run through Nate. That Nate is the one who sets that up. I don't have access to his setup.
Oh, I thought both of y'all had that.
No, I have access to the account, but all those cards and stuff, he has all that.
Oh, okay, well, continue on, my man. Continue on, PG. I'm getting my drink on. I'm going to get my drink on.
Grab me a beer, man.
I'd like to have to grab me a beer now, too. No, so what I didn't want to do, and I know this is going to happen, my dogs and cat are going to start freaking out. But I didn't want to just be in this section of the wonderful world of Google Plus. I wanted to, talk to other people. I mean, I'm trying to be friends with everybody. I mean, everyone knows I'm good friends with Matt Slick, and we've had Rand Campbell on, and Rand Campbell have had our differences, whatever. And Roy Montero, if you remember that guy.
Oh.
There's a blast from the past, right? Let me unpack that for you.
Yeah, yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes or no? But him and I, because my rule was I'm not going to get involved with your bullcrap of whatever trap that you're trying to set for me. I'm not going to do that. I will hang out with you. Me and Tommy Hall, very good buddies because we connected on a really underground band that I didn't think that anyone knew. And like, holy crap, do you have this album? Do you have that? So I kind of know what areas I want to be with certain people, and I don't judge people for what they believe at all. And I don't think any atheist does either. At least in that community, it's when you start being really stupid with it, then we're going to call you out. Am I saying that correctly?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm right there with you. I find that people's personal attributes are much more interesting overall. When I say personal attribute, the fact that they hold this religious title isn't very important to me. I honestly, when someone says they're Calvinist, I kind of okay, but it's not like, oh well, I need to kind of perk up and treat them any different as opposed to a Catholic or a non-believer. It is, are you a jackass? Like, can you show some level of social decorum in a conversation or not? That's what I care about.
Exactly. Because I mean, if we were arguing over if you like Stevie Wonder versus Stevie Nicks, and that's just stupid, and why are we even having that conversation? That made no sense, but whatever.
What?
I like Stevie Wonder. I'm sorry.
You should.
I should like
Stevie Nicks is sexy.
Songs in the key of life.
I would rather have sex with Stevie Nicks, though.
That's true. Yeah. But 1976, Stevie Nicks.
Well, she was sexy in the 80s too. Now. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Yeah,
tell me lies. Yeah, great song.
Yeah, sexy in the 80s too. Now, don't forget the 80s.
True. I can't forget the 80s ladies.
That's right.
Tina Easton.
So what's going on, man?
I don't know, man. I'm on your forum. I'm in your house, man. What's?
Have you debated any interesting things? Like, do you debate theists, or do you? I don't debate.
Like I was saying, I try to be as friendly as possible to people.
Oh, you're a friend? You one of those friendly atheist guys?
Yeah, I'm sorry. No. No, I try to be as friendly as I can with people. A good example, and I know he's been a topic of your show many a time, is Darth Dawkins.
Oh, yeah. He's my favorite dodo head.
Yeah. But you know what? Him and I were really, really cool because I told him, I said, I'm not gonna play your game. I will not play your game. So don't even try. And he never did. But another member of our community came out as trans, and that would be Laura, wonderful person, and he made fun of her, was just vile and rude, and I called him out on it, and he kicked me. Why are you kicking me? And here's the thing, and I'm going to go off on a tangent, sorry, and I've always wanted to say this to Darth Dawkins, is that when they make a soundboard about you, you're never going to be right about anything, ever.
I love soundboards.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Drag is great with soundboards.
If there's a soundboard about me, then I need to reevaluate my life.
I'm surprised there hasn't been all the crazy stuff that I've said over the years. I'm genuinely surprised no one's taken like out of like me quoting other people or just stuff like that really out of context and just said,
Quote mine? You mean quote mine?
Oh yeah, because people could quote mine me all day and they would get a hilarious.
That's all they do. They do a lot of quote mine.
I want to say something that's going to be completely rude. I don't think they know how to do that.
That's actually, you bring up a good point. Your friend that was trying to contact you earlier still hasn't figured out Discord, and now he's trying to figure out Streamlabs, which good luck. Because he's trying to integrate both.
Why do you say my friend, man?
Your friend. I'm being very, very, very facetious. Well, I can't even say that because I spent 4 hours talking to him the other day. So
right, and I was in there for an hour.
Yeah.
and he can't even figure out Skype. Come on, I just sent you that message.
Yeah, that's true. He literally. Well, we got 2 of his videos where he was telling people that the video was private while it was public. And that people shouldn't watch it, but then people in the chat to tell him if they could hear something or see something. Your guess is as good as mine. But so anyway, you found this. You came across me or JD, and it was probably Talking Shit Tuesday. Honestly, probably how you came across it. Right. And I'm genuinely trying to remember the first time I came across JD. I remember JD pulled one over on me when we first encountered each other. I literally thought he had a PhD from Harvard. And I even put it on Facebook, so he did get me on that. So I'm not sure when, because we started Talking Shit Tuesday sometime after, because the Awesome Crew show was a thing back then, and so that's where we pulled inspiration from. And it should be obvious to people who are around, but that's where Talking Shit Tuesday came from. But things have kind of evolved since then. And wait. Three Black Heathen, but you've never confessed to raping a leprechaun, and that still needs to be added to the sound. Oh God, no, I'm not even going to touch that one. But
you raped the leprechaun, right?
No. That our good friend G-Tard was making certain comments about leprechauns a while back, and the context of that is lost upon me, and I'm not even sure if I want to go back there. But so
G-Tard.
Oh God, it's just so.
It's your favorite troll.
You know what? He's something. I'm trying to be nice to him. I'm trying to be nice.
More than something. He's more than something.
Well, speaking of which,
he's more than something. He's more than something and a little less than nothing.
Right.
Something from nothing. But so your music ventures, Positively Godless. Let's talk about that. You play. You have a skill that I don't have. Rest of my family, literally everyone in my family can play an instrument or two. I have none. So people who can play instruments, it's very and hear different sounds and music is always interesting to me. So how did you get into the music playing type thing?
I was. This is going to be a very, very boring story, so I apologize. I was 3 or 4 years old. October 28th, 1978. I knew I wanted to play music for the rest of my life, and that was when the Kiss movie came on, called Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, and I'm like, I want to do that. So that cheesy ass movie, and it's just awful. It's just. But at 4, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then I heard the intro to the song "Controversy" by Prince in 1981, and I'm like, okay, that's a jam. What's that?
That was a jam.
I'm sorry, Emperor, what? Go on.
So that was the jam. Controversy, the whole album.
Oh yeah, whole album. I remember my mom got me that record, and that was the coolest thing. And didn't know what the songs meant, didn't know what sexuality was, but I was still jamming and head bopping to it, you know. So, and then I just started banging on pots and pans, and I think my first instrument, I think it was guitar or drums. I can't remember which, but I just picked up everything. I wanted to play everything. I think I was 4 or 5 years old, trick-or-treating with my dad, dressed as Big Bird, and the woman opened the door, and I said, trick or treat, but behind her was an organ, and I just walked right into her house and started playing her organ, not sexually, but her actual musical organ, and that was just the coolest thing ever. So, but yeah, and then I didn't realize until many years later, when you're an adult, like, holy crap, I can actually get paid to do this. I can go play for 3 hours and get paid some money I didn't understand that whole concept. So yeah, that's my other job. I do accounting by day and music on the weekends.
Oh, okay. So that's what people say. Don't stick to your day job. Jeez, I can't even get out. So your day job is actually accounting.
Yeah. So I listen to you all a lot all day long, and it's awful, but it gets me through the day.
Yeah, and that's why we do the long hangouts. So so you guys have something to listen to and torture yourself with.
Yeah. So I thank you for getting me through the day.
Yeah. So
we thank you. We appreciate it.
I can't hear Emperor very well.
Yeah, Imp, you might have to change your bandwidth up there, man, because you breaking up a lot. Are you on your phone?
Am I? No, I'm on my laptop. Yeah, I'm
okay. Yeah, you might.
I'm actually in Denver, Colorado right now, so I might have a problem.
Yeah, you're breaking up real bad, man.
Okay.
Nate finally here. There he is.
Yes, Nate's there.
Hi, Nate.
Oh, he went silent and he muted himself again. Oh, he left.
So, he just like, screw you.
Yes, dear, we can get milkshakes. My wife just sent me a message. Can we get milkshakes later? Yes, I will give you a milkshake later. One of the most interesting things that I found out about you, in particular, was that you have a very interesting job, other than being an accountant.
I did.
You did. Okay, so we want to talk about it. Okay, so you want to? Oh, are you cool talking about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So,
because being a gigolo is something that I've always wanted to do, and I've never actually known.
No, you can't do. No, not that. You can't talk about that.
Oh, okay. No, not that. Okay.
So we did Positively Godless show for about maybe 2 seasons or so, but then I was asked to help out with the Prince estate. Is that what you talk about, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I did work out at Paisley Park for a few months to help get that under, get it rolling with tours and stuff like that. So that was really, really cool. It was very, very surreal. Kind of going back a little bit before Prince died. I'll try to make this story short. It was on April 16th. He was having a party, and his house or his studio is maybe 10 minutes away from where I live. So I went down to my kids' area, and I said, hey, you want to go to Paisley Park today? He's like, yep. I said, can you get dressed real nice? And sure enough, never seen that kid get dressed up in my life, but he was dressed up that night. So we got in. I remember asking him if he got starstruck, and he says, no. So we're there for about an hour, and then we hear his voice. And there's this other area. There's a sound stage where they do all the big videos. Like they did Get Off in that room. They did Cream in that room. But there's a separate area where it's like for private parties. So they had a private party for Madonna and all that stuff. So Prince is in there. My kid's like, holy crap, there he is. So, then the night kind of goes on, and then Prince is kind of alone in this area, and so are we, because everyone's now in the big sound stage. And I nudged my kid, and I said, hey, I dare you to go say, I'm glad you're feeling better. And he's like, Dad, we're going to get kicked out if I do that. I said, I don't care. I want to leave here voluntary or involuntary, but damn it, be a good son and give me a good story. So he walked up to Prince and said, hey, I'm really glad you're feeling better. And one of the last people to talk to Prince is my kid. And that's a memory I'll never forget. And jokingly, I sent it to TMZ because my kid made a video about it, and I'll send you the video drag too later. And I sent the video to TMZ. They contacted me right away and said, can you be on TMZ Live today? And then I was on TMZ Live reporting on it, and then he died, 3-4 days later. So with Paisley Park, I don't want to say anything negative about working there, but they wanted robots, and I refused to be a robot. I refused to do the script. I knew the building inside and out. I knew stories because I've been going there for 25 years. That's what the fans want to hear. They want to hear over here, and it's just like, okay, that's dumb. Get them personal. So we had disagreements, and we parted company. But I'm happy of what I did. They still use a lot of my ideas to this day, and it was a cool time for me. So basically, Paisley Park actually killed Positively Godless show. I could have blamed that.
Oh wow! I can imagine too. If you have something like that, they want people to be and one way of putting it is robots. Like there's a script, there's a certain image, there's a thing that there's certain motifs that need to be constant, and so people need to stick to it. And so if you're not that type of person to just do the same thing day in and day out, it's going to get monotonous. And I could definitely see you can split ways amicably because that's just not who you are as a person.
Right, and there were so many stories in each of those rooms that I could tell, and I remember when Naughty by Nature got kicked out one night because they were smoking pot in this very room, and I was there that night. Or we think Michael Jackson was in the building because there was a weird person dressed as a woman, and it was around the same time he was filming Scream with his sister Janet. So a lot of those stories. But no, that was frowned upon.
That was a little too risque. We do have a question in the chat. Someone asked PG what he thinks of King Crimson.
I have no idea who King Crimson is.
I don't either. So,
damn, that question was out there for like a couple of minutes too. I thought that was like the question for a second.
So King
I like the song Crimson and Clover.
Yeah, I'm switching screens.
What would you say? Crimson was what?
King Crimson's a band.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
It's a rock band, according to Google.
Oh, okay. Prague. Okay, kind of like Dream Theater. I gotcha. Maybe not Dream Theater-esque, but I know what you mean.
Let's see. It's a English progressive rock band formed in London in 1968. Oh. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I never heard of them. All right. So,
garbage. They probably were garbage.
Private garbage? Yeah, it might have been. I don't know. So, you know quite a bit about Nipsey Hussle and kind of what's going on in the background with that, right?
Yeah, I do. I know personally, so.
Okay. Real quick, Imp, you want to try turning off your. Imp, you want to try turning off your bandwidth like all the way down to see if that's better because you're still kind of breaking up.
Okay. It might even help if he turns off his camera too, because sometimes the camera.
Yeah, you might end up doing that because it's real bad.
Okay, how's it now?
Yeah, you're good now with the camera off. Your audio's good.
Sounds better. Yeah, I turned the bandwidth all the way down too, though. So.
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me clear now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I knew Nipsey personally, man. He wasn't from my neighborhood in Los Angeles, but he's from the opposite side. But I knew his older cousins. He was reaching blood. His father. The fact we just did visual line form. So man. That's a big now to the hip hop community, but
Imp. Sorry. Imp, can you hear me? I gotta cut you off because it's really bad, man. It's like it's really, really choppy.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Can you guys understand him? Drag and
I was
PG?
trying to.
No.
They started breaking up real bad.
Yeah, he sounds like a droid.
Hey, hold on. Hold on.
I'm about to say, may the force be with you, brother. That is like, you know.
Yeah, I did catch that he knew Nipsey, and that's interesting. That
Oh yeah,
you know,
that's I heard that.
I didn't know he, but I know that that Imp actually knows I think Monty's cousin or one of the dudes that Monty. For those of you who don't, Monty is a guy who creates all our images and stuff, and he's also one half of the Hannibal and Monty shit show. But Imp has actually met some of the guys. I want to say one of the guys is actually related to Monty. So I was like, okay, all right, try again, Imp.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
How was that?
way better, way better.
Yeah,
you sound great, but sometimes when you get into it, sometimes it gets choppy. So let's just go with it right now. It sounds good.
Okay, this sound okay? Let's do testing. How's that?
No, you sound great. You sound great.
Yeah,
just get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Did y'all hear the last part I said about Nipsey, about the Eritrean community? Did y'all hear what I said about that?
I think maybe it's best to start at the beginning because a lot of the context got lost when he was getting real choppy. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, yeah. Basically, what I'm saying is, yeah, that was a big loss to not only the hip hop community, but basically to the Eritrean community too. You know, he was of Eritrean, Eastern African bloodline. So we just had a visual for him. Matter of fact, got another visual coming up on the 18th. We just had a visual in the Eritrean community here in Atlanta. But yeah, as far as that go, yeah, I knew him personally. I knew him when he first started on his mixtapes in LA, and he started selling for $100, which was a bold move. I knew his manager. He was a good dude. He was a genuine dude. You know what I mean? He wanted to basically buy back the block in his area in Crenshaw district, which he was doing. He was real business minded at a young age. He was only 33 when he died, but he had gotten the game. He was like 17, 18. So people from around LA area, Inglewood, everybody knew who he was. But yeah, it was just a big loss, man. But as far as the shooter, you know, I know y'all heard a lot of different stuff. Y'all still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Fine and clear.
Okay, good. Okay, it just looked like my sound went down again. I'm looking at my computer. Okay, but yeah, as far as the shooter, you know, TMZ tried their best to cover a lot of things, and his business partner Jay said some different things. But just from the street side of it, this dude Eric Holder, who they actually have in custody now. As y'all see, OJ, old prosecutor, is his lawyer now. Don't know how that happened, but as far as Eric Holder, basically saying he was a snitch. He was from the same set or you know, street gang, as we call it, from 60s. Those who don't understand LA lingo, he was from 60s hood. And they actually didn't want him around in the block no more. That's the word. They told him not to come around. He was trying to come up rapping. He was a so-called up-and-coming rapper, but Nipsey and his people didn't want him around, hanging around the marathon no more, hanging around that particular area. So I still don't understand how, if you told somebody to leave, how you just, you know, how you slip like that and line back and shoot. So that's what everybody's trying to figure out now. But other than that, which he probably won't live long once he get in the system, because they're not gonna be able to protect him like that. They ain't gonna be able to keep him on PC for too long. Somebody gonna, even if it come down to a correction officer, CO, they're gonna eventually get to him and take him out. But on the other side of that, yeah, he was a great entrepreneur, man. He was doing a lot for the kids. He always was speaking at the high schools, the middle schools, and so forth. Not just in California, but everywhere. So you know, hopefully the brothers out there keep it going out there.
Yeah, and
he was also skeptical too, huh?
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying, yeah, they got to keep it positive out there. And on top of that,
yeah,
it's you know what? It's one of those deaths that move the community. Because I remember I was alive when Biggie died and Tupac died, you know, and I was able to kind of wrap your head around it. And it's interesting because I think this cat even though he wasn't as big as Tupac and Biggie, I still think a lot of the community felt it in a different way. You know, like when he died, like a lot of cats in New York didn't really know about Nipsey Hussle. You know what I'm saying? You know, he was well known, but he wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't like credited out here.
Yeah,
like the Biggies and the Tupacs and stuff.
Right, he's underground, basically.
Yeah, but what happens is that his death was felt just like if it was one of those big rappers because of the things that he was doing in the community, because of, you know, his relationship with stars and stuff like that. So how do you think this is going to change the tide now? Because in the community that such an entrepreneur was killed in this way.
Well, you know, it's already done actually rippled pretty good now. Even gang deaths has basically been way down for years in LA, probably from the last 10 years, man. I mean, gang related deaths been really down, which is good. I don't know if it's LAPD work, and I doubt if it's LAPD work, but maybe just you know, different mindset, community, more community getting together. But people like Nipsey Hussle, he was known as a rapper. But Nipsey, who, like I say, was a 60s, which was a Crip, he actually was one of those guys, I mean, even at a young age, always brought different gangs together. You know what I mean? And right after his death, this was last week, man, a couple of my cousins called me. They told me that all the different sets was actually throwing. They was having business meetings. The LAPD done sat down with Rock Nation. Jay-Z is involved because right before when he died that Sunday, him and Jay-Z and some more representatives from Rock Nation was going to meet with LAPD to not just talk about gang initiatives, but schooling, things they could do for public schools in LA, private schools as well, around the whole LA Riverside, Long Beach areas. So it was a positive move that he had going on. He just was taken from us in I guess bad timing. But LAPD chief and the mayor, they still saying they're going to work and do what they're going to do. So that's a good thing. You know, we've had this type of I've never seen this type. Even though I don't live in California anymore, but I've never seen this type of communication and what you would call, you know, actually just cooperation between the neighborhoods and the police, LAPD. I've never seen that, and not even with Pac, you know, just like you just mentioned. You mentioned Pac and Big, 96 and 97. That was real big. That was real big. But and like you say, Nipsey was not a bigger artist than Pac or Big. But honestly, Nate, this has actually brought on a bigger worldwide view. I almost can say bigger than Tupac. I mean, but I've never seen the community. Like I say, I've never seen communication between LAPD and the neighborhoods and the Bloods and Crips just come together like they're doing now. They didn't do that when Pac died. So
let's not forget too though. When Pac and Biggie was around, that was still in that East Coast West Coast thing that they were spalling up, and Biggie's death was really
which was some bullshit.
Supposed to be a reaction to Pac's death. All right, you got one of ours, we got one of yours. So it really, but I think Nipsey Hussle, there's none of that East Coast shit and West Coast shit is done. So there's a little bit more unity within the community when it comes to shit like that. So you know, so when a big rapper dies, let's say anybody from the East Coast or West Coast, it's the magnitude is felt throughout versus like, you know, if he's an East Coast rapper, you know, versus if he's a West Coast rapper.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it's a difference. But like I say, man, eventually, I think a lot of the negative shit, a lot of the negative stigmas is going to probably, you know what I'm saying, it's going to get better eventually. But you know, me and Drag was tripping on Facebook after it happened. You know, all of the, you know, somebody died. Of course, you know, social media always going to go to all of the conspiracy theory type things, and you know, everybody was saying, oh, they killed him. The government killed.
Hot 97 was saying that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, this is the bullshit. And this is the narratives that we have to stop, though. These are the narratives that we have to stop, because all this little stuff, instead of just actually putting the blame where it's supposed to go, which is on the neighborhood that he was trying to look out for. You know what I mean? When these ignoramuses to life, you know, through hate and jealousy. And then people want to say, oh, well, he probably was hired from the government because he wanted to make this documentary, Dr. Sebi, you know, because he was trying to expose Dr. Sebi's work about him curing AIDS. And all of us know that's pseudo. Dr. Sebi was an herbalist, pseudo herbalist. He said things that were unscientific. He said mucus was the reason behind all disease. I mean, this guy was not a real medical scientist. People actually believe that the government wanted to kill Nipsey Hussle because he wanted to bring out a documentary on this pseudo doctor. I mean, so this is the thing you have to try to kill, man. Just stick to the facts and keep things real instead of just always putting some bullshit conspiracy theory behind something. You know, that's what it is.
Yeah, because I know I've heard too. The one I heard from the fucking radio station, Hot 97, they were talking about the police was some way may have been involved with the killing or something like that. And then the second one was that Nipsey Hussle could have been like the snitch because he had a meeting with the feds like the next day. So this was something about that. But like you're saying, no, facts matter. And a lot of these cats with these conspiracy theories don't really just want to accept the facts. Tupac is still alive, you know, based on the conspiracy theories. He's been alive and he's chilling with Elvis. So, you know, these people just don't base their thought on reality. You know what I mean?
Hold 1 second, y'all. Hold 1 second.
Yeah, but what do you feel about that though?
Oh,
because
there we go.
Hustle,
yeah, I was trying to talk, but the thing wouldn't unmute. But yeah, no, I was laughing at that too because I was like, oh man, Nipsey died. Yeah, okay, I've seen this guy around. I was like, oh, okay, cool. He's influential, you know, in this community. Good. He's pulling the J. Cole. You know, that was my initial reaction. He's pulling a J. Cole. But I shouldn't even say it like that. But he's being a decent human being. But then immediately, I mean, not even 24 hours after Nipsey had died, oh, he was doing a Dr. Sebi documentary. What? Like, okay, he's into like, you know, I think Childish Gambino, or you know, somebody is into some woo-woo pseudo nonsense, whatever. That's their thing, you know. But then people took it to this weird level. They had to take him out. The government knew that they were going to lose thousands and millions of dollars. They had to take him out. I was just like, hold on. This dude, y'all are talking about the same Dr. Sebi who got y'all buying $200 bottles of chelation too. Y'all have no idea what's in it or what it does. If you actually had to go look up to see what's in there, and it's some plants and stuff. It's like, okay, cool. But he said this is a chelation formula. I said, I work with chelation in a lab on numerous occasions. They don't do what he said. That's not how they work at all. And so I said, look, y'all can honor Nipsey's death by not spreading his bullshit. Like that's what y'all can do. I said, look, if y'all have people on right, let's say if y'all have somebody spreading this nonsense, please tag me. Please tell them to come find me, because every time I ask these folks, there's this product on CB's website, you tell me what it does. None of them can do it. Not a one. I've yet to have somebody that can tell me what that shit does. And they swear up and down, oh, you know, you just said that and the other. And I said, look, if y'all want to rep something, at least know what the hell you repping, because y'all look real dumb right now. Like real dumb.
You know what that is blind faith.
Yes.
Blind faith.
Man. It's terrible.
Yeah. Oh, it's like it, and like I get it. Because I had to try to be a little bit more sensitive. It's like, you know what? I got a Tuskegee syphilis experiment. You know, I got the different chemical agents that was sprayed upon neighborhoods in the past. Like, I got it. I get where it comes from, but some of this shit is just outlandish. And just because you got somebody who might look like you trying to sell you something because it's oh, you know, all this, that, and the other, it doesn't mean that they legit. It doesn't. And people make that mistake. Every time I talk to these folks, it's, well, I asked them, I said, how do you know this stuff works? Oh, well, people said it. I said, yeah, I listened to this lady that some of y'all link, this lady that says she had a colorectal cancer. And then she says she also had leukemia. And I said, something don't sound right. And I'm like, oh, wait. Let me look in medical literature real quick. That's not how that works at all. I said, if you're going to make up something, you might want to make up something a bit more believable. You don't get leukemia secondary to colorectal cancer. And so I asked people, I said, have you ever heard of anybody having colorectal cancer and leukemia. Like that, just from the onset, that story don't sound right. But they swear up and down, and man, like they mistake CB's stuff for being efficacious. They expect, yet they mistake that the fact that he beat the federal government in some unrelated matter for his stuff working. And I don't know why or how, but that's the cool new thing to do.
Right. You're dead right. I mean, all week, man, I've been actually talking to these type spirits, talking to them all week, man. It's ridiculous, man. It's hilarious. So that's just how people think. I can't change that way. I can change just a little bit. People use, you know how they go.
It's if you think about it though, something like what a quarter of the population in the United States thinks the Earth goes around, and the sun goes around the Earth. 25% of the population in the United States thinks the sun goes around the Earth. There are flat earthers. We're in a time where I think information is free and accessible, but the filtering mechanism of what's actually real and what's actually not real is so blurred, because in our society we have things that are fantastical, made up stories that people are certain is true. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta say, the Bible and the Quran and these things to me seem to fit in those categories where you have people who believe that crash is true, and that kind of gives that credence and cover to all these wild conspiracy theories. It's kind of like the same thing. The same amount of truth in a biblical story is the same amount of truth they have for these conspiracy theories. A lot of loosely tied together coincidences that seems to come to this overall grand conclusion that really isn't connected at all. So,
you ever notice, though, if I may interject, is that okay?
Go ahead, Positive. Go ahead, PJ.
Here's something I've noticed with flat earthers. Flat earthers are come in a bundle, and that bundle is flat Earth, 9/11, Sandy Hook, NASA. They all have to have a whole grouping. It's not just flat Earth and everything is fine, everything is crap. I'll never understand that at all. If you're a flat earther, then you're a 9/11 denier. You know what I mean?
Well, think about it for a second, Positively Godless. And this goes for anything. I want everybody to think of this. Have you ever known somebody who abides by or subscribes to a conspiracy? Have you ever met someone to believe just one conspiracy?
Right.
You won't find somebody. Every time someone adopts a conspiracy, they have to automatically adopt a whole host of other conspiracies to support it. That's why you'll find them believing a whole host of things, because it becomes a snowball after a while. They can't trust anything because of their belief in this conspiracy. Well, that conspiracy shakes the belief in this thing, and so that leads to 5 or 6 other conspiracies. Oh, now they've gotten to the 10th level of wokeness, so that the experiences that they have are then filtered through the matrix, to which they can't even it gets more ridiculous to the point. I try to think of the girl's name. Yeah, it gets ridiculous because they're super woke. They're too woke for everybody. I'm trying to think of the girl's name. She used to hang around Pillbox.
Oh, Rose Patton.
Rose Patton. There we go. Rose Patton's a perfect example of someone who's just psychotic, because she can't trust, and she'll tell you she can't trust anything because she's adopted all the conspiracies, which that's where it leads you. It leads you to psychosis eventually.
That's terrible, man. That's fucked up.
Yeah, but
here's a quick question. What conspiracy? Like, I've believed a wild ass conspiracy theory one time. What wild ass conspiracies have you guys fallen victim to?
JFK assassination.
Yeah, that's a big one for me too. Damn, that's a good one.
That's a believable one, though. I leave that one alone.
But see, that's not necessarily a conspiracy theory. Somebody professionally took him out. I mean, think about it. Y'all actually believe. Think about it. See, let me give you an example of what I'm saying. Some conspiracies, right? What we consider conspiracy, right, actually carry some facts. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Okay. And then I'm gonna get back to JFK. Let's go to because and then this is going on what Drag just said about you have to adopt a whole bunch of different ones, and a lot, and most of them do. Think about this. Think about this. When we talk about flat Earth conspiracy theory, right? We have no culprits. We have no evidence for a flat Earth, and of course, all physics and science goes against that dumb shit. But it's still a conspiracy theory, right? And they think NASA. And they don't think about all the other space agencies that will have to be cooperating with NASA, blah, 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 and all of the thousands of employees that got to be keeping this lie. And number one thing, there's no culprits. But think about this, 1929 stock market crash. Now, when you think about that, you say, well, is that a conspiracy? Even though when we talk about the bankers and you talk about the families who actually did this, we know for a fact that there were culprits during the 1929 stock market crash. We actually can point out the culprits, because we know who the culprits are. And we basically, through history, we know what the reasons for them doing what they did. So when we look at some particular, what we consider conspiracies, we have facts to actually back, and we can say, yeah, that was a conspiracy. That was conspiracy that we can actually point out and see who did what we did. But majority of conspiracies don't go like that. Now, JFK, I don't think any of you actually believe that Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy. Do y'all actually believe that?
I don't know.
That one I can and I want to speak a little bit about that.
Lee Harvey Oswald is the accused, and we know was shot down before he even went to court by Mr. Jack Ruby. But do y'all actually believe that Lee Harvey Oswald was the one who pulled?
He could have been a fall guy, and I'll fully admit now that's one of the persistent conspiracies that is very believable, especially given that time frame of because during that same time frame we have other very prolific political figures being assassinated by the government. It should be a little obvious who I'm pointing to. Actually, multiple, and so we have organizations such as COINTELPRO, who are acting in these ways. So it's very plausible given precedent, given opportunity, given a number of factors. And so for something like that, and we do have evidence, yes, it's like the stock market that crashed in the early 2000s, that was conspiratorial in nature. People conspired to give some of these high risk I forgot what they're actually called, these loans to people who should have never had them. That was the legitimate conspiracy. Some of the like the reptilian people and stuff like that there's just no evidence for. Those are ridiculous. But the JFK one is a hotly contested, and that actually somebody I know very well supposedly has family members that were somewhat possibly involved in that. So that's one of the ones that I put over to the side to say, you know what, that is very plausible. That is very, very plausible.
It's so interesting too that, sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, I hate to push back on the conspiracies here, but I do want to say though, every huge type of event that the governments put out a report on, there generally is a conspiracy theory attached behind it. And we talked about 9/11. We've been talking about this. We've been talking about JFK. Generally, if the government has an official account of what's happening, there's going to be a conspiracy saying that everything the government said is bullshit. So at this point, it comes down to this. The question is, do you trust the official government account, or do you think they could be lying to you? And that's what it comes down to. That's what the 9/11 people have come to say. That's what the JFK people have come to say. And the government has lied to us before. And people think that, but now the question is, are they lying about these events? JFK, yes, there are just like when I watched the thing about the moon landing, and they point to very specific things. Look at the way the flag moves. The flags don't move, if there's no air up there and that type of thing. And look at the moon dust and all this other crazy stuff. It's very convincing. They take loosely, I think, details that people have question details, can that be? Is that possible? Okay, there's a question here, and then create this narrative behind it. But I would say this, I'm going to believe the official government account until there's evidence to convince me otherwise. Yes, I'll question it, but I still believe the official government account until I know for a fact that it's implausible.
Yeah, there was a docuseries that came out maybe 15 years ago. It's called The Men That Killed Kennedy. And there's so many different
that was a great documentary
ways. Yes, and it was like a 6-part, right? So you had 6 different ways that Lee Harvey Oswald didn't do it, but you didn't know which was the truth. And a lot of these documentaries, especially with JFK, are done so well that they can make you think that Lee Harvey Oswald did do it. So I'm at the point of the JFK thing, like, I have no idea. And it's a bucket list thing. I can't believe I have not been out to Dallas. It's like, that's where I want to go so bad as Dallas. We just haven't made the trip yet. Just to look for myself. I'm not an investigator, but still, you know, if maybe I'll have a different perspective when I'm there. I have no idea.
Okay, check this out. Listen, well, the thing about that, matter of fact, I actually have that 6-part series in my library. I got what's the name? Did a movie on it too, man. About 18 years
Kevin
ago.
Costner.
Kevin Costner's called JFK. I own it.
JFK, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was a great movie. I don't know if y'all watched it and actually dissected it, but that was a great movie. But I'm gonna tell you this though. I mean, as far as the Kennedy thing, there's no way. There's no way. Lee, and actually doing the research on who Lee Harvey Oswald was, his training and what he did and didn't know. There's no way he did that. But that's a whole nother thing. We could do a whole nother video and conversation on that. But how about this? 1980s. Let's come up to another one that we can consider conspiracy, which is backed by facts. Even though President Reagan didn't go to prison or didn't get impeached for it, but the whole Iran-Contra. Would you not consider that a conspiracy theory from the government to the higher up, where Oliver North actually took the fall? Do y'all remember that?
Yeah, I do remember Iran-Contra, but there I think there was a paper trail. There were documents. They actually made weapon sales that they were supposed to make. Like when we talk about conspiracy theories, I wouldn't say that was a conspiracy theory, than more of an investigation by Congress, and somebody had to take the fall, which was Oliver North, who pled guilty. I'm thinking that's a little different than JFK. No,
you skipped over everything. Nate, do you know what Iran-Contra was about? It was about trading guns for drugs. That was a conspiracy.
Oh, you're talking about the one in Colombia with the Rick Ross? Because there was one for Colombia and Rick Ross.
No. I'm talking about the Iran-Contra conflict when Ronald Reagan was the president This conflict started from 1984 to about 87. 3 years. We were selling guns, drugs for guns to Iran, to these soldiers
to support Iran. Yeah, I remember that.
Right. That wasn't no that. Do you remember what that was about? That was about. That's they were not supposed to sell arms to Iran. They were doing that. Congress investigated it and found that they said they did it, but there was a paper trail. There was evidence that showed that they were doing that, even though they said they didn't do it. Right. So I mean, you don't say that was a conspiracy?
No, because they actually had the paper trail.
When the American people did, but the paper trail really didn't. The paper trail wasn't complete, though. It wasn't complete. Ronald Reagan was supposed to be impeached, but Oliver North actually took the fall for him. Yeah,
but they had enough to get this guy to like a conspiracy theory would be that. I don't consider that to be a conspiracy theory, because somebody actually this is the guy. This is what he did. He had to take the fall for the president. Like, that's not a conspiracy.
Okay,
that happened.
Why did he have to take the fall for the president?
Because he committed those crimes. Like, he did that. He stole the arms to Iran. He did that.
But the president knew he did it and gave him permission to do it. Told him to do it.
Now, see, that's the part that now has to have that link. Even though I do believe the president did know, that's why you have a do dirt nigga. For the do dirt nigga is the person that says, I didn't tell the boss. He's the one that goes to jail. And that's what he did. He was a proper do dirt nigga. Obviously, we all believe that President Reagan knew, but he's going to sit there and say he didn't know and going to do his time, and now he's making a selling his books. That's the way it works.
Well, you just explained your conspiracy then, because the president is supposed to do
that. No, I'm saying I believe the president knew, but I don't that if that's the conspiracy, that's fine. But I don't think Iran-Contra is a conspiracy theory, because that actually happened. People actually went to jail. Like, he actually took the fall for it.
Well, it's still. I mean, hey, like the point I just made about 1929 stock market crash. It still was a conspiracy. We just figured out who the culprits were. We just found out the information because we had the evidence for it, and it happened so long ago. And the families from them are still rich. The Rockefellers, Bilderbergs, everybody's still rich. Chase, the Morgans. But hey, I mean, we know the families who were behind it, but it's still a conspiracy theory. It doesn't matter, because we actually found out who the culprits were. The point I'm making is, a lot of these conspiracy theories, we maybe have paper trails. They may have culprits once again, but there's still conspiracies that have taken place that have food. This is the whole thing about a conspiracy, the foundation of conspiracy. Something that a small group of people, powerful people, always got to be. If it's not powerful people, then it's not a conspiracy. First of all, let's say that. I mean, just Joe Black in the neighborhood can't do nothing. That's a conspiracy theory. It's got to be powerful people that can affect a whole bunch of other smaller people. You understand what I'm saying, Nate? You agree with what I'm saying?
Yes. I agree.
You follow my logic on. In other words, conspiracies have to be committed. Brother, we have a paper trail. They have to be committed by people that majority of the other majority of the people trust. These smaller people, these 1% people who are controlling the other 99% or whatever. So I mean, I would have to say that Ronald Reagan got away, and Nixon didn't get away. Nixon didn't get away with Watergate. That was conspiracy. He just happened to get busted up by an elevator guy.
All right,
a black janitor guy who.
You know what? I think. It's probably my fault because I should have been more specific earlier. I think it's the way we're defining. Like, it seems like you're talking about just general conspiracies, which I do agree. The president of general, but I'm talking about when I say conspiracy theory, I'm talking about something that's really not that is a loosely formulated something that's not based in fact. For instance, if they were saying the conspiracy theory, like Nipsey Hussle was a snitch and he was supposed to snitch like that's a stupid conspiracy, and I consider that conspiracy theory. Total junk. Has no relationship in fact. People are just putting loose. They have the fact that him and Rock Nation were going to talk to the LAPD the next day, and they have the fact that he got shot, and then that made this backstory to cover it. That's what I'm kind of considering. And it has some loose attenuation to the facts, but it's really just BS. So
okay, this may be a rabbit hole that I don't want to go down, or y'all don't want to go on. Do you think that we're in the midst of a conspiracy right now with who we have in office?
But what would be the end goal? Conspiracy would have an end goal.
You mean with Donald Trump being president?
The current, I mean, do you think that we're in the midst of a conspiracy right now that we don't know yet?
About Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Nah.
It's kind of a rabbit hole, I know, but I was just thinking about it.
I follow him on Twitter. I actually just think this dodo bird just locked up and won. I don't actually think there's no powerful people behind his presidency. If it is, then maybe we'll find out 50 years from now. But right now, I'm not basing this on the latest findings in his case because they say they found no evidence with Russia as far as any collusion. Right. I'm not basing that on that. I'm just basing on. I just think Hillary Clinton was a terrible fucking choice too, and I think she was arrogant, just like when she ran against Obama. And I think she just lost, man. She just lost. The electoral vote got Donald Trump the victory, and that was it. And that's all I think. I don't think it's no conspiracy theory.
Yeah. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. It's just that we had some picky and choosy things that happened during the primaries, and so because of picky and choosy things, we had a candidate that wasn't as strong as there should have been, and so you know what, we ended up with people's some people's greatest hope and some people's worst nightmare. So it is what it is.
Let me introduce you guys to the conspiracy theory on why Donald Trump has won. And maybe a little bit more convincing to you. Number one, Donald Trump just really won by about 50,000 votes spread out in really 3 to 4 distinct states: Pennsylvania, Michigan. Yes. For 50,000 actual votes in particular places to get the electoral college win. Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, for instance. These states were very, very, very small margins, and even Florida to a certain extent. So you're talking about he won the presidency really up with 100,000 votes spread over really 4 to 5 states. What they were saying is that after the election, there were a couple of news reports that came out that were showing that most of the voting systems in those states, even though they weren't online, they were extremely vulnerable to hacking. In other words, somebody going into the voting booth and maybe putting a flash drive in or something like that. There was really no type of infrastructure involved. And they did find that, that there were some irregularities, nothing too much, but just some irregularities. Places that obviously voted for Obama and went for Obama heavily that now went for Trump. Things that people didn't expect. That's why all the polls showed that Hillary Clinton had won because these were traditional places that traditionally voted Democrat. And all of a sudden, This time they went Republican. So what they're so the conspiracy out there is that you had Russian operatives. Remember, we had a couple that actually got caught. It was one that got caught recently too, trying to mess with a polling data. They were Russian operatives that went into these particular states and actually corrupted these voting machines, and that's why Donald Trump is president. And now the U.S. government has now realized that the Russians have done that, and now we're spending something like $5 or $6 billion on voting security for the next upcoming election because they're saying it could be a problem, but it hasn't been a problem last time. So the conspiracy ends with saying that the government doesn't want to tell us that this actually happened because we would lose integrity in the voting system. So they'd rather have this guy be president than actually have to tell us that the vote was actually wrong.
Okay. So let me ask you this, because that sound good. Let me ask you this. So do you think would you still say the Russians were involved then?
Yeah, they're saying the Russians were involved. This was the Russians, but again, you didn't have to change because most people think that when you change an election, you got to change all these votes. They didn't have to change all the votes. They had to change small amounts of votes in particular places that would be shocking, but it wouldn't raise enough eyebrows, and that's exactly what they did.
Gotcha. That's what you're saying. That makes sense. What you think, Drake?
I see now where people were getting that from, because I didn't see where the whole all the hoopla came from. As far as the Russians did it, I knew that the Russians, well, some online organizations were. I didn't realize it was so like deep, cover operation nonsense. But I knew Russians were involved with social media campaigns. I think, okay, that was obvious, but that they were physically going in polling places and supposedly altering results, and I'm like, that I didn't catch on to.
What if I told you they had a Russian operative that went and was meeting with the top people at the NRA? She got caught.
You know what? I don't think that's surprising. I kind of almost expected that, because it's like, well, if the Russians are interested in having someone in the White House that's more conducive towards their goals, then they're going to have people meet with lobbyists that are going to push particular agendas for that side of the political spectrum. Like that to me is just something I expect I watch a lot of James Bond, so I expect that sort of espionage stuff to happen. But the super James Bond, Tomorrow Never Dies kind of going in and hacking stuff, that was like, hold on.
But just to speak to that just happened last week at Mar-a-Lago. Remember the Chinese woman who said that she had an event? She had a whole bag full of flash drives. And and talking about she just had to go to an event, and it wasn't even the Secret Service that stopped her. It was the receptionist who called the Secret Service to come and check her out.
Yeah, no, that it's believable. It's like, but something like that, I need stuff like that to happen. So it's like, okay, well, the Chinese are now trying to get in and see what's going on. I'm like, well, it's a mixed fucking bag at this point. And for me to believe some of the more, because that's one of the more, I guess, to me, outlandish. And I would need events like that to kind of go, yeah. A part of me already kind of says that I think that's people's or country's responses to what we're probably doing in their country. But I put that on the back burner until these type of events actually occur. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. But again, let's look at what we have. We have now a Chinese operative doing exactly the same thing that we said that probably was unlikely to be done. All this stuff with the USBs and everything, going to a soft place, thinking that they can get access. Now, is it really outside the box to think that this is something they got caught with doing? Is it really out of the box to think the Russians, who kind of easily know these vulnerabilities, don't have enough money and resources to have a couple of guys who are white, speak great English, walk into one of those polling places and put a USB in some voting machines? Is it really that outside the box?
That's not really unbelievable to me, because Russians are very highly intelligent people. They're very conspiratorial. That's very possible. Especially when you're dealing with a country. You're dealing with a country that's been dealing in espionage for years, man. Y'all need to read a little Tom Clancy, man.
I used to read the Red Storm.
And Robert Ludlum. So it's not beyond crazy to believe that. But But okay, let's take this a little further then. Obviously, man, the investigation found nothing. So even though this just happened though, right, Nate?
Yeah, they just finished the Mueller report. I can't never say.
Well, hold on. Just to be clear, the investigation found no collusion between the Trump campaign. Well, no coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia. But let's not forget, we do have. Hold on, but we do have something that they did find. We do have that they have Roger Stone, who was talking to WikiLeaks about releasing the hacked emails from the Russians. What Mueller didn't find was that there was anybody from Trump's place ordering the Russians to do that. Get the emails, get this, and no coordinating with them. But Roger Stone was clear through messages, emails, and all that stuff they got on him that he was talking to WikiLeaks before the release of it, and he knew, and he was coordinating with them. But he wasn't a part of the campaign. He was doing it, and he lied to the FBI, and now he's being charged with that.
That's true. I mean, but you think about it. This is the only president, man, that has had this many people around him in his cabinet and close to his cabinet to actually go down and to be indicted. I mean, nobody's ever had a cabinet to people who've just failed the way his cabinet had. I mean, nobody. Not Nixon, man. Not even doing Watergate. I mean, he's connected up with a lot of different crooks. I mean, period. So I don't know. It's not hard to believe. It's not hard to believe. But we just can't pinpoint any. As far as evidence, we can't pinpoint it.
And this is where I think the conspiracy theories. You have enough to be dangerous to make you question the reality that you've been told, and that questioning then leads up because more people are going to find more things and more coincidences, and then say, okay, this is it's what is the truth? Because that's what a truly great conspiracy theory has you questioning what actually is true. And when someone says, is the official account true? You can put your hands up and say, I don't know. And that's really that. And when that happens, then the conspiracy theory isn't a conspiracy theory anymore. It's actually the truth. And it's hard to decipher which is actually true.
Right. MLK. What was the guy named in Tennessee that was supposedly accused of killing K? I forgot his name.
Yeah, I forgot the assassinator.
Name? The so-called assassinator. We don't know. Because before he died, the family didn't believe he did it. I don't know if y'all kept up with that or not. And they actually went to court. Actually had a lawsuit against the government and won. I don't know if y'all knew that. Did y'all know that about the family?
Nah, I gotta check it out.
Man, check that out. What was his name? He died. Right before he died, all of the king's children and Coretta Scott went to him and they said after they talked to him,
James Earl Ray.
They said they James Earl Ray. Well, the family, the whole MLK family, says that they do not believe James Ray was a trigger man. So I want to ask y'all this: since we have nobody that's been arrested for MLK's murder, do you think let's just go on to say that James Earl Ray was a trigger man? The family say he wasn't and went on to sue the government. But let's just say James Earl Ray was a trigger man. Do y'all believe that James Earl Ray was a loner and just wanted to kill MLK?
No. I just, based on what also happened to another influential character during that time.
Robert Kennedy?
There's means and there's motive. And there's who got killed first? Now I think about it.
You talking about Medgar Evers, Malcolm X? Because don't forget all the other people. Well, you got Saran. Like back in the and I hate to even say this, but back in the 60s, that was the most popular thing that seemed to happen to be going on. Political figures being killed by lone gunmen. There was a lone gunman that killed this guy, lone gunman that killed this guy. Even though Malcolm X, there was 3 guys, but usually it wasn't these government coordinated attacks. It was lone gunmen that killed them. Robert Kennedy got killed by a lone gunman. JFK by a lone gunman. That's the one thing that you see, and it's interesting how I think people start picking out the conspiracies for the more popular one. Who?
You say JFK got killed by a lone gunman?
No, I'm saying, but those are like the official stories. JFK lone gunman, Robert Kennedy lone gunman, MLK lone gunman, Medgar Evers, he got killed by a lone gunman. Like most of the people back then. John Lennon got killed by a lone gunman. I don't want to say it doesn't happen, but this is like, it would be it's rare when they're not killed by a lone gunman. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no. No. Let me rephrase it. When I say lone gunman, I'm not talking about a person just pulled the trigger because he's by himself. When I say a lone gunman, I mean a person that did it on his own retrieve, on his own reasons, wasn't paid, wasn't connected to a higher up, wasn't connected to somebody in the government, or was connected to some big friend. That's what I mean by lone gunman.
All right, so let's take that. Go ahead.
Right. So, like we know Sirhan came in and shot Robert Kennedy. They was at a conference, and he just came up in the crowd and shot him and got caught right then. But that doesn't mean Sirhan was either retarded or was just a crazy man. Maybe he was paid. Maybe he was paid to knock off Robert. Maybe there was some reasons to kill Robert Kennedy because of the things Robert was speaking on. I don't know. Who was Sirhan? Why did he do it? Was he just a psycho? Was he just psychotic? Or what caused him to do it? That was what I mean by lone gunman. That's what I mean by it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that I think that's more of the rule, not the exception. We're talking about people like Gandhi, kind of a lone gunman, even though they may have had political reasons to do it, but they're really considered lone gunmen. The guy who shot Reagan, he was a lone gunman. It's it seems like all of these people have been shot by lone gunmen. And we're trying to say like they weren't, they had many more, except for Malcolm X. Malcolm X, there was a crew that did that. Yes, Malcolm X wasn't killed by a lone gunman; he was killed by an assassination team. But those other guys, that wasn't true for these other people.
But what I'm saying is this, Nate. Just because we're saying that these were, you're saying that these were single shooters. Let's just keep the conspiracy on the floor. That doesn't actually predicate that they still wasn't a part of the government that actually wanted to get to have them assassinated. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. That doesn't mean that there wasn't. That doesn't mean the people who killed Kennedy, besides going through all of the evidence that was talked about after 1963 in Dallas, Texas, because that would take days to go through that, and you actually have to go through that and actually see it yourself. But just without going through all of that evidence, recordings and things that were found, things that were said, pictures that were caught, that was captured, that day. The way his wife reacted, the way Jackie reacted, the way the driver reacted, different things. Besides all of that, what I'm saying is, even if we put it on Lee Harvey Oswald, that still doesn't say that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't predicate to say just because they were lone, because nobody anybody that we say that was killed, whether it was all the way going back to Abraham Lincoln, John Booth, anybody that we say was killed, no, of course, nobody from the government has never just came forward and said, hey, it was a government collective. We were sitting around in the White House, or we were sitting around in the CIA room, and we decided to say we were going to knock Kennedy off because of blah, 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 blah. So, of course, nobody from the government has ever came forth and did that. So, I mean, but that still doesn't take them off the hook, does it? You think that takes them off the hook?
I just think if we're looking for correlations, we're trying to say, well, most of these prominent people who were actually killed, were they really killed, or, was there any evidence they were killed by a vast conspiracy, or was it more likely the people who killed them were kind of just lone gunmen? And just going through the numbers, the Reagans, the Medgar Evers, the Kennedys, all these people who had been assassinated by lone gunmen, it just seems that seems to be a rule of in general, and then we're adding a layer of conspiracies to some of them. But if you just wanted to take the overall trend, it seems like lone gunmen are just that; they're just lone gunmen.
Yeah, I stay fairly incredulous because I try to keep my skeptical hat on at all times, because on the one hand, if I want to tell religious folks that, you know what, you just can't believe anything just because it agrees with a narrative, then I have to be fair and I have to do the same thing. And so for a certain conspiracy like this, I think there's plenty of proof for it. But then in the same way that someone who's religious would say, oh, there's plenty of proof for God if you just look here and here and here and here and here. So mind you, I'm not really trying to equate the two, because you can establish historical precedent where humans have motivations and they've already shown that they're capable of doing this means of motive, as I stated before. But just to say, yeah, I think for the wild conspiracy theories that are completely implausible, like reptiles and stuff like that, and flat Earth. That's ridiculous.
Flat Earth.
Yeah, flat Earth. Yeah, the perfect example. But when we talk about events
9/11,
that
9/11.
have occurred in the past, like good government we know our government has assassinated people. We know that is a historical fact of the United States, and it continues to be. The numerous assassination attempts of Fidel Castro. I think there's an entire movie based on that, it's a movie or documentary based on just the myriad of ways that the government was trying to come up with ways to do it. So that's plausible for that reason. And I think that when we talk about conspiracies, it's helpful to say, well, just because something is called a conspiracy doesn't mean it has the same type of nuance as that we're talking about, lizard people versus assassinations.
That's true. But you know what, though? I don't know. I think if our government really wanted Fidel Castro to be dead, and with all the money that we have, do we really not think that they would have found a way? Like, just Greg, if I gave you unlimited resources and said, listen, I need this guy to be gone, and I give you unlimited resources, do you think you would have not found a way to make that happen?
Oh, if I really wanted to happen, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and it's not just you, but it's the best team of people we can find on the planet. And on top of that, we got lifelong Cubans who want this guy dead too, that we got recruited. And we have unlimited resources. It's like, how could not we not get that to happen unless we're like totally incompetent?
Well, Nate, you know what? I think you underestimating the regiment on that time, because America actually did send assassins. It was known, and they were. You talking about the Bay of Pigs. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Bay of Pigs.
It's like 1,000 assassinations ago over there.
I'm not disagreeing with you that I'm not disagreeing with you that they could have failed in some assassination attempts.
They were defeated. They were defeated.
Yeah,
it was actually an embarrassment to America, because this was like an undercover black op move to go knock off Fidel Castro. Nobody knew about this. The American people didn't know until later on, years later, and they failed. So, I mean, Fidel had a strong team up in Cuba. You just couldn't get around Fidel like that. He wasn't a dumb dude. He had Che Guevara knocked off. He was real slick snake, dude. He wasn't a dumb dude, not at all.
I'm not saying he's not.
Think about it. America. I think that was a realistic hate for Cuba, especially you talking about the '62 missile crisis. I actually think some of our presidents wanted him dead. They just eventually just gave up and said, "Fuck it, we just to keep money out their mouth and keep food out their mouth,"
But that's still
I actually think they wanted him dead.
But that still begs the question, though. If the government really wanted him dead, think about it. You could put us. Let's say us four put in a room together, and they say, figure out a way to get Fidel Castro, and we're going to give you unlimited resources, time, and effort. That's your whole job. We're going to make you millionaires. Just figure out how to get this done. Could we not figure out how to get this done? Could we not figure out how to do it? Fuck it up. A fucking RPG from across the street could fucking blow up the building. Like. Really, if the government wanted him dead, do you think the United States government with all the resources couldn't make that shit happen? Are we that inept?
We have a comment from Frustrated Atheist. He says, I've done some extensive digging into the Kennedy assassination, and I think the most supportive hypothesis is that it was a Secret Service that killed him, but not intentionally.
I agree with that too. I totally agree with that.
He should have signed that. Praise God.
I mean, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say, because some of the during that time period, I think that was also the same time frame that what is that movie? The Men Who Stare at Goats. That whole operation. I can't remember what it was called, but you guys remember the movie with George Clooney?
Yeah.
So they were trying a lot of loopy and funny things. Having access to a lot of resources doesn't guarantee competency. As somebody who served in the military, I can tell you that competency isn't always on the top of the priority list.
So what military can beat the U.S. military in battle?
Oh no! Don't get me wrong. we get the shit done. But
What type of battle?
competent,
What type of battle?
being competent though in doing it, that's another question.
Hold up, Nate. What type of battle do you mean?
No, I'm talking about like if we went to war with somebody, the U.S. military.
If force on force, force on force is us. Anything else?
That's a little iffy, but because even Vietnam, the U.S. military never lost the battle on the field. They lost the political battle.
They didn't win either. They didn't win.
They lost the war, but they lost the political battle based on war. They didn't lose on the battlefield.
They didn't win on the battlefield either in Vietnam either. I mean, even though it was a coalition, they didn't win. We didn't do too good in the Korean War either. In 1950, we really didn't. Because now, if we nuke you, yeah, we can nuke you, anybody. We can nuke them. But just think, if we want to go to war right now with the Chinese military, just leave nukes out of it. You think we would win? Really? If we went up against war, head up with China right now, you think we could just beat China?
I think the United States military can beat any force on the planet. Yes.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Matter of fact, I think the United States is so good. One of the biggest issues that they found a Chinese spy, and the United States military was able to do a threat assessment about what the stuff that he had lost, that they had lost to the Chinese, and they were saying the guy had brought their technology for making war or whatever they do for like another 25 years into the future, closer to the United States, but the United States was still like 150 years ahead of where they were at. They were that far catching up. So maybe in terms of just pure manpower, they may have more people, but in terms of military force, we spend more in the military than the next 10 or 15 countries combined. The United States military force I don't know. I don't believe there's anybody in the world that can touch the United States when it comes to the military. Period.
Well, I hope you don't find out, because I think it's overrated. I actually think the U.S. military is overrated. If we actually was to run, I mean, we haven't really fought nobody. I mean, who have we fought? We fought the Rock. We just bulldozed over them.
And that's,
we haven't really fought anybody. Who have we fought?
I think I get the context. What you're talking about, Imp, is that we haven't done a force on force conflict for several decades, and that's
so for us as we're so mighty. I think it's overrated. I don't think it is what a lot of people think it is because of our so-called technology. Russia, even though we tricked them in the Cold War, eventually with Gotov and all of them in the late 80s. Man, Russia done built back up militarily, not financially, but military. I mean, I don't think we would want to see a war with Russia. Not only just not China, but not even Russia. I mean, Iraq, you can't compare Iraq with a country like Russia or China. Hell, I mean, you just can't. Those are totally things. And I think that would be very costly and deadly war. So I think it's best for us to keep peace with people like China. And Russia.
And one of the things that I noticed on my way out of the military around 2014 was that there is a shift in operations, and I'm not. Oh, and I just now. There's a shift because when I was in, my job was to help offer medical assets to units coming in to train for deployment, and those missions were almost all in urban environments, trying to quell civilian uprisings and trying to conduct cordon and surge and successful extraction missions, elimination of high-value targets, and that sort of thing. Now, the shift to what I referred to earlier as force on force, that is when you have another potentially first world or even second world nation that's rising in power to challenge us as far as our just on a technological basis. They have something that can match our Abrams or our Bradleys and stuff like that, because you don't really see that in Iraq and Iran. You're not going to see that in Pakistan, not really. But Saudi Arabia has the funds, for something like that. So if we talk about China, of course, China has a very expansive population and military that they could potentially have put boots on the ground and have vehicles and whatnot here and whatnot, but it's something that we have not trained for in quite a long time. And like I said, just in 2014, near the end of it is when I saw the shift in operations, when we're actually now starting to train in those tactics.
Oh wow! I would say this too. I don't think anybody wants war with China or Russia. That's mutually assured destruction. They call the acronym MAD, right? From
They
back
don't want
back in the
war.
day.
I mean, they don't. I don't think
But
they want war with us either, though. They don't want war
no,
with us either.
and I agree. But one thing I'll say is that you remember back maybe there was maybe like 5, maybe even 10 years ago when the Turkish government shot down a Russian plane when they were over Syria, and the Russians wanted to retaliate against Turkey, and Turkey threatened to invoke the article of NATO about retaliation against you attack one NATO nation, you attack all, and would bring the United States in. The Russians didn't retaliate against Turkey for shooting down a Russian plane because they knew what that meant. They knew if they went after Turkey and laid a firecracker, then they were in trouble. We were talking about ending the world, and they let a Russian fighter plane get shot down by the Turkish and didn't do anything but cry about it. So I feel like this when you're talking about you're talking about the Chinas and the Russias and places like that are comparable. Yes, we wouldn't want to be in a conflict with them because it would destroy us to win. Winning at that point isn't really winning; it's losing. Both of us lose if we even fight. But I think if you just like Drag was saying, if you put conventional weapons with conventional warfare and just have us go into battle, I think the United States military is the top of the game. And I might just be fooled, but that's just what I believe.
Oh yeah, definitely we'll win that. It'll be rough though. It'll be rough. Hey y'all, excuse me for 1 minute, man. I gotta get my grandson in right quick. Hold on, y'all.
Yeah, no, you're good. I got my son down here writing something, but no, it would be rough because we have for one thing, our forces are stretched fairly thin, and I know that's AFRICOM. There's is it Eurocom? I think our command center in Europe. I think it's Eurocom. Nope, it's not called Eurocom. Hold on, U.S. Forces Europe. What's it called? I have no idea. But anyway, there's different commands, speckled throughout. Okay, EUCOM. Okay, that's what it's called. EUCOM, UCOM. And they're speckled across different continents. And so trying to get them condensed into fighting a massive war would be a terrible effort, just logistically, how something like that would happen. I know it's possible, but it would end up reshaping a lot as far as nations, as far as politics, because now people would then really begin to fear the power of the United States and go, shit, if let's say we get into conflict with Russia, okay, well, you know what? Russia's under our thumb. Russia's fucking huge.
Yeah, the largest country on earth, right?
Yes, it is huge. Imagine how that would instill a lot of fear into a lot of people that we can do that, and just in the size comparison. And they know that technologically, sure, it would be a very close match in some cases, but just some things employed by different militaries would also really, I think, reshape the views and the opinions of people worldwide. And so you never know, like something like that. Let's say we win a conflict with Russia. All right, what's to say that China and a whole bunch of other nations who really don't like the idea of us having a foothold in Russia say, screw this, we're going to force the United States out. We're going to then go to back-to-back war now with the United States just to get them off of our continent, just to move them away from our continent.
That's what happened in Korea. That's what happened in Korea.
Yeah.
250,000 Chinese came over the river and pushed us back. Yeah, that's what happened in Korea. So, but you're right though. All these geopolitics is just starting to hurt my head now because we're talking about blowing up the planet.
Yeah, essentially.
But you know what? It's funny because I think nowadays when we talk of, especially when we get into not only conspiracy theories but just thinking critically about things, I do think no matter if you're a Christian or not, or really believe in religious crap or not, I think everybody has their things where they believe, that are just kind of kooky. And it's hard to let go because I believe some strange shit. But it's, you know, it just is what it is. Like, you know, I believe that there are probably aliens out there, you know what I'm saying, and things of that nature. Some people say, oh, you're crazy, you know, there's no evidence. But yeah, but you know, I believe it based on the numbers and the odds. I matter of fact, I believe it so much that I believe it's, if there was no aliens out there in the universe, that would be the crazy part. That would be the part that would be crazy if we're the only ones. It would, if it's in reverse.
I think that's a fairly, and actually, I'm actually curious to get a positively Godless's opinion on this. So, what's a belief that you would say that was probably unjustified? And I'm using that word very loosely. Unjustified belief that you really hold to that is fairly shaky.
That's a really good question, and I never thought of that. My belief is G-Man's a true Christian. No, I'm sorry.
That's a good one.
I don't know. Gosh, that's a good question. You know, the alien thing is definitely something that I kind of believe a little bit, and that's really a 50-50 with people. But when you have so many planets, so many galaxies, and all that stuff, how can there not be life on other planets? Whether they're aliens or not, I don't know. But there's got to be life on other planets. But oh man, I don't know.
Now you're thinking. Now I was like,
Now you got me.
No,
man, why you got me thinking?
If somebody asked the flat earther, what conspiracies do you believe are true? Would they say, I believe the Earth is flat? Because then they wouldn't call it
a conspiracy. They wouldn't.
Because that would have to force them. They would have to force them to admit that it's a conspiracy. So it's like us. So it's like us asking us, what conspiracy do you believe in? You wouldn't answer it as a conspiracy either.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a flat earther here in Minneapolis. He's got a YouTube channel. Can I say his YouTube channel?
Go for it.
His name is Authentic Intent. A very entertaining individual. Go check out. I mean, but what I give the guy credit because he's got balls to go on the street. So he does a lot of this man on the street and telling people the earth is flat. But he takes it to the extreme where tells kids that dinosaurs aren't real, which I'm surprised he's not been knocked out yet. He's came close at a hockey game where he was told a child that Santa Claus isn't real, and the father freaked out and I'll send you that clip if I find it. But but I got to give him credit. But you're right. What we think of conspiracies aren't conspiracies to them, and probably vice versa. If I'm making any sense.
Yeah, no, I think it makes perfect sense because when you call it a conspiracy theory, they know that has a certain negative connotation to it,
right?
And so they're not going to accept that label at all. And so the Clockwork Red says that there is life out there is given. How many sentient races there are is a debatable question. I think that's a good point. I think there's definitely instances of life in the universe. I don't think we're the only one. Now, intelligent, the Greys walking around on 2 legs or 4 legs or one giant dick. I don't know. Like I doubt that something like that exists. Possible. It is very possible, but I doubt that life would look like us. If we're even going to sentient life, I highly doubt it's going to look like us. Maybe it'll be something that is fairly. We might. I think here's me. I think there's definitely microbic life. More than likely microbic life somewhere. If we get to more sentient life, we'll probably see it in its developing stages of sentience.
So you believe we're the first?
I think not necessarily. I don't think we're the first. I don't, because even on this planet we're not the first. Not I don't. Well, as far as where we are, well, just think about where we are in the evolutionary timetable, and the history of our planet, and where we are right now. We are a speck on the ass of a sentence, as far as the actual age of this earth, because life started and stopped and started and stopped so many times on this planet. And you think of just how far we've gotten in this short amount of time. Now, you compare that to the original life, and it's like, man, the original life was vicious. It could survive. It was rugged, but it can't survive catastrophes. Now let's look at another environment, a completely foreign environment, a lot of water, sure, but they evolve and they're self-aware. They communicate, maybe not, maybe through vocal cords like us, maybe through different whatevers. I don't think that we'll find as intelligent life as us, but we will find something that is sentient and that are probably in the midst of gaining the some semblance of what we had, 50 to 100, thousand years ago.
Wow, it's interesting. I was reading an article about. Well, it's I'm just off from the beginning. There was a scientist who were taking the DNA and said, well, let's see how far back, if we can track how far back DNA goes to kind of get like a time frame on how long life had been on the planet. So if we could track it back to about so they expected about 4.5 billion years ago. They actually tracked it back further than that. And it was interesting because they were like, well, this may feed into the panspermia thing, that life started on some other planet and kind of moved to where it's at now here on Earth. But one thing that they were saying was that the universe started off extremely hot and cooled off to where it is today. I think today is like 2 or 3 degrees above absolute zero. But they were saying that back in the past, not too far after the Big Bang, maybe like a couple of billions of years after that, but still a time frame when you still had heavier elements and you could still make planets like Earth-like planets. There was a time where the average temperature in the universe everywhere was a habitable zone. So it wasn't like you had to be just so close to a star to be in a habitable zone, but actually you could be farther away from the star because the temperature in just empty space was that enough to keep liquid water on the surface of planets. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, you could have had life abundant on all these planets, because you could have just had liquid water on all these planets without all of the solar flares and the solar radiation, on smaller planets too, because you didn't have to have the magnetic field. So they were saying that life theoretically could have been around for all that time. And if that's the case, with the billions and trillions of galaxies and billions and trillions of planets, it just seems more likely that we are, instead of being maybe the first or even the only intelligent life, I think we're just one in a sea of life that, just because of the expanse of space, we can't communicate with each other. Light years it's hard to get over light years.
Right, and that's actually what Frustrated Atheist was putting in the side chat, that we have galaxies that are way older, and they probably did have life, but some of it definitely died off by now. If it did have life, and that, yeah, and I agree with you. The fact that we're in an expanding universe, the more time that passes, the further away things get. So it's just, that's why I think we get a lot of our talk about jumping through light speed and that sort of thing, because that's kind of what we have to do at a certain point in order to even try to get to some of these other places, because they're just so far away. It's not I think the nearest habitable planet is like 50 years away. So it
no,
is.
you mean like 50,000 light years.
50,000. I think that's if we're what I might be thinking of, if we're traveling. Is it if we're traveling at light speed is 50 years away or something like that? I forgot this. But
don't forget you got
physics astronomy is not my thing.
Yeah, and you got that what's called relativity. I forgot.
Oh, the relativistic
effects. Yeah.
The twin paradox and all that shit. So yeah, if you're the people who the people take off on a 50, this is just a 50-year journey to planet X, the people on Earth are not going to age the same as the people who are traveling away from the planet. And that's me and my old lieutenant from the Army. I actually had this conversation a few times. I said, I can show you the twin paradox, because he had heard of it. He didn't know what it was called. I said, oh yeah, go watch this video. And I said, okay, let me try to explain it to you. And man, he got to the point where he didn't want to talk about it anymore because he could not wrap his head. I said, let me find you somebody who understands physics a lot better than me to explain this stuff. But I actually did experiments where they took two clocks that were at the same exact position, right? And then they put one of the clocks, I think, up in a plane, and they left one of the clocks down, and sure enough, one of the clocks was off. And I was like,
The
that's
atomic clocks, yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy when you stop and think about that.
But that's GPS too. That's what they have to do. They have to do the calculation for GPS because it would be off based on relativity. They're farther from this than their gravity.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we
And
got about.
I do. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. So we got about 15 minutes in here. You let some folks in here and come chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I do have to get up because my wife will be home. So if that's okay.
Yeah, we're going to end this in 15 minutes. Just let some folks come in and kind of chat. So yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, but go ahead, PG.
Yeah, I do want to thank y'all for having me on. It was a lot of fun. And Pia, you're in New York still, right?
Yeah. I'm still up here.
Yeah, we'll be there in April 18th through the 20th. So.
Oh, all right. For what? What are you coming here for?
Bringing my 15-year-old son, another trip to New York and having a good old time. And so, yeah.
Oh, I'll pass you my information. If you would, definitely contact me. So we'll definitely hang out.
Yeah, that'd be very, very cool.
Me and the missus is going to be heading up there towards. I think we're planning at the end of May, so that my in-laws can grab our son from the airport and then they can take him for the summer thereafter. So that's what we're looking at now. So people will finally get a chance to meet Mrs. Drag.
Oh, cool.
That'd be nice.
And then eventually what we'll actually plan something in a year where a bunch of us can get together. Would be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice. That would definitely be nice. Yeah.
So.
You know what? Go ahead, PJ.
No, please.
No, I'm just looking here because you're saying the Avengers is actually the week after that on the 25th. I was like, oh, maybe we can see the Avengers. You know they're selling those tickets. 2 of those tickets just sold on eBay for $15,000. 2 Avengers tickets just sold on eBay for $15,000.
Yep.
Wow.
God damn.
Yeah.
Why?
Right. Hi, Laura.
Wow.
Hello. How
but yeah, good. I'm gonna get out. I'll let y'all talk. But thank you again for having me on, and we'll talk again real soon. So
definitely, PG. You take care of yourself.
Before you go, you said
yes,
you said in the side chat you mentioned me in this video or elsewhere.
No, in this video we were talking bad about you.
Oh,
I was. No, Darth Dawkins was mentioned, and I told that story about how wonderful of a Christian he was.
Yeah. You see, what was comical about that was that I went in there to demonstrate that they didn't have anything over me.
Right.
And that really upset them to the point they tried phoning up the Atheist Experience to troll using my name.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. And furthermore, in the prelude to that, they were talking about doing it. And so I contacted Aaron Ra to contact Matt Dillahunty to tell the ACA that that's what they were doing. Watch out for it.
Well, I think I did hear Matt say something about that too. So
yeah, which is why they're not invited. You know, it's like don't want to talk to them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
all right, y'all have a good night.
All right, see you later, PG. Thanks for joining.
All right, see you. Thank you.
You were talking about alien stuff. There's a quote from oh, I've forgotten his name now. Used to do the there's a astronomy show that was done by American Black astronomer guy. What's he called?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. And then there was the old one from the 70s or early 80s.
Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan, that was it. So Carl Sagan wrote a book called Contact. There's a movie. And in it, the quote is that if you look up at the stars, if 1 in a million of those had life, and 1 in a million of those had intelligent life, that the universe would be teeming with civilizations.
Oh, yeah.
That's how many stars we see when we look up at the sky.
Well, there's trillions of galaxies, and each galaxy has trillions of stars in it, which equates to like hundreds of billions of planets.
You know, it's funny. I was watching. They were talking. MIT did a study about how big the actual universe is, just based on the evidence and the evidence that we have today. And what they calculated using the most conservative estimates is that what we see is only 1/200th of the entire actual universe. So the actual universe, based on just gravitational models and everything, is about 250 times what we can see. And when they tried to model that out, it would almost be impossible for life not to be abundant within the universe, just based on what we know. So,
and that's based upon the amount of light that has got from there to here in the time that the species has existed.
Yeah, in like 14 billion years, the existence of the universe. That's what we can see.
Yeah.
Like I tried to explain to a dumbass one time, once you get to the cosmic microwave background radiation, that's as far as you can fucking see, because that's the remnants of the Big Bang.
Yeah.
No, you can go back. There's one more they're trying to get now that you can go back. It's a little bit farther, and it's called the neutrino epochs, I believe it is. It's right. It's like a little closer to the Big Bang, and then the one that they have is just a little farther away. So it's like, I think it's neutrinos though. They're trying to figure it out.
Well, I mean, the universe may very well be like 10 times older than 14 billion years, but right now that's as far back as we can see. I mean, they're working.
It's amazing.
You have to be cautious kind of with the term universe there, because as it's presently used, like the word universe really refers to this particular configuration of space, time, and energy. So anything prior to this particular configuration is before the universe, chronologically speaking, or either causally speaking.
To quote C-3PO, don't get fucking technical with me, goddammit.
Well, that's if you was a multiverse. I'm a multiversist. I believe in a multiverse.
I quite like it as well. There are scientific theories, that have been proven mathematically. That one of them is an idea that we have black holes. The matter has got to go somewhere. The idea of infinity usually means your maths is wrong. So it's got to go somewhere, and the suggestion is that it spews out into and creates a new universe. That material being sucked in goes out into another, spews out into a new universe, and that's how that universe began to exist. And there's no reason to think in the way that, in the way that seasons and supernova is all cyclical. The universe tends to show how things are cyclical. So a universe could expand and contract, and that can be one part of it. But also that, this cycle of one universe creating another universe, creating another universe, creating another universe, and it's just been going on forever, which is a kind of difficult term to explain, because of course time only exists once the universe starts to exist. So the idea
it doesn't.
Forever. Well, time exists when matter exists, I think, is the
Why would you say time didn't exist before the universe?
If you're talking about like our respective universe and something preceding it, and it having its own space-time continuum, that's always why it's a problem. Whenever we talk about something like beginning to exist in time, we're talking always within a frame of reference of where we are situated in this universe.
The only way we can speak on it. The only way we can speak on it, if it was in our time for anything before.
You're breaking up, Emperor.
Am I breaking up?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
There's a very simple way of looking at it, which is that if you, so long as you have an ordered series of events where 1 precedes 2, and 2 precedes 3, and 3 precedes 4, and etc. ad infinitum, and it could all go back, like it can just go back for eternity. It doesn't actually matter. Like you have time in that regard. That's all that is actually at its bare necessity. What is needed for time is just this sort of continuous motion from the preceding point to a latter point. That's all you need.
A linear progression. Yeah.
Yeah, but even to agree with that's your understanding of time. From my understanding, that if you're talking about time in a 3D, like a 3D space-time model, that our experience of what we consider to be time started at the Big Bang. Before that, to speak of time is meaningless, because without that, you don't have this progression of events. That was the event that caused all others. No,
That's actually taking into account that interpretation. It's
Well, okay,
actually it's kind of one of the things that sort of rebuked the whole notion of like William Lane Craig's first premise of the Kalam cosmological argument, which was that time is this constant, ever in flux changing thing, as opposed to just a series of events. It's basically the distinction between A versus B theory. And when you're talking about what is accepted by modern physicists, it tends towards the B theorist view of time.
all right, because I just always understood both models worked within this particular frame of reference, this particular universe. And we're talking about before the Big Bang, then we don't have that frame of reference to even reference what time is.
And not only that, we find time quite difficult, because it's like, yeah, you can say these words, but to create a reference point of it, I mean, just to give you an idea, to count to 1 billion would take 31 years, 251 days, 7 hours, 46 minutes, and 40 seconds to count to 1 billion. So the idea of billions of years is a phenomenal amount of time to conceive in your head.
Oh yeah, it's almost inconceivable.
I mean, I wonder this is the reason why the likes of G-Man and Ronnie and people, the creationist types, struggle to see the idea of billions of years.
Makes their brain hurt.
Hmm.
Okay, y'all want to hear something weird in physics that is like a hypothesis that's going around? All right, well, say wormholes are real. Wormholes bend both space and time. So it is possible for you to exit a wormhole before you have ever entered it.
I don't find that difficult. In the days when Concorde existed, you could leave the UK and get to America before you'd even left. I used to joke when I'd fly to America, it takes 7 hours to get to New York, but 12 hours to go. It takes 2 hours to get to New York, but 12 hours to get back. Because it's a 7-hour flight, and the time's -5 time zone, hours in time zone. So it would take 2 hours to get there.
Okay. Well, that reminded me of Drag talking about the twin paradox. Okay, here's a real simple way to think of the twin paradox. I have a twin. My twin stays on Earth. I get on a spaceship that travels at the speed of light to the nearest star, which let's say is 4 light years away. I travel 4 light years. I look around there for like a day, and then I come back. That's 8 years in my time. Well, it's been 80 years in my twin's time, more or less. So I've only aged 8 years, but my twin has aged 80 years. Or is dead, whichever.
It reminds me of that movie Interstellar, where the daughter became like super old with the dog. But again, relativity and I keep fumbling that word. Relativistic effects. You know what? One thing I was actually reading an article maybe about a year ago that I thought was interesting about pi, and they were saying how pi is unique. And just for context, everybody understands how pi works. If you go, the number never ends. It's an irrational number. No, it never repeats. Always unique, right?
I heard it has a different value if you look it up in a different system.
Yeah, if you measure it in pies, it's a different value.
Hair pie? Are we talking about hair pie? Oh, wait.
True empiricism was trying to. Yeah, it's one of his statements about mathematics, and yeah, he quickly backed away from that one.
Oh my God!
He didn't quickly back away from that shit. He spent 3 months on that.
that would be true empiricism, but
That is quick to empiricism. I mean, the water thing has been years. So
yeah, he's never going to let that go. The stupid water thing. But
the water thing
one thing,
a year,
one thing,
2 DMCA's.
Oh my God. The one thing that they were saying about pi that I thought was interesting was that is that for us, fundamental reality, we have to think about things like quantum mechanics and the Heisenberg uncertainty principle about both position and momentum, how there's always a fuzziness to the number. So they were saying that pi, since all circles share this one unique figure of pi, that is an actual measurement of something in reality. And because it's a measurement of something that's actual real, it's an actual point measurement, that it invokes both the quantum reality of the uncertainty principle. So the farther you go back and the longer the number becomes, the more, that's the reason why it's irrational, because it's actually an actual point, an actual real measurement of reality, and it invokes the quantum realm. And that's why the number is just so irrational. What do you guys think about that?
It sounds like whoever was advancing that argument was trying to bastardize the works of Plato beyond what it was that he was actually expressing.
Since you're talking about pi, I had to pull this up. An old picture I found years ago. I couldn't help it.
It's funny. It's fun.
There's also another one which is a pie chart, and it's pie I have eaten, pie I have not eaten, and it's basically a bit of pie that's left.
Won't be none of that left after Brexit.
Oh my God! What do you think's going to happen? Are you guys gonna put a hard border back? Northern Ireland, the Northern Irish hard border.
If they don't, some men in balaclavas will.
Yeah.
Back to the troubles. Back to the troubles.
Laura and I were talking about that the other day, and wow, yeah, it's just a shit show.
It is.
It's the stupidest thing ever. Why the hell would you leave and take your voice in fucking the European Parliament? You still got to follow their rules, but now you get no voice in the fucking procedure. It's like, it makes no sense.
Well, I mean, if we leave without a deal, we don't have to follow their rules, and they just, screw us over with trade tariffs and stuff.
Yeah, but now you just
into a recession.
You've just destroyed your economy, because now instead of just getting things into the EU, you have to deliver that shit around the EU. You just made your life so much more difficult.
It's almost like, I don't know, being in a country where it's incredibly difficult to get around importing things around a free trade agreement with 2 free trade countries and then slapping them with tariffs.
Oh, shots fired.
And
oh yeah.
And the thing about it is, this whole thing all comes down to the Conservative Party having a rift in their party about we like Europe, we don't like Europe.
No, it's the nationalism is starting to come back in all countries. It's happening there, and it's happening here in the United States. We want control of our own laws. We don't want, I forget, what do you guys, Brussels? You guys don't want Brussels to pass your laws and so forth and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is that there have been 2 wars in Europe since the EU came about. And the number of, and that's countries that weren't even in Europe at the time. They're now starting to come into it, okay? Former Yugoslavian states. What we had for centuries was constant war in Europe. But effectively, we've got, we don't want to be told what we can do by Brussels or the EU. And the amusing part is that, David Cameron managed to get a veto type of thing where we can decide which things we want to be able to do and which things we don't want to do. So we can say, okay, we're going to opt out of those rules. We can actually do that. And, the EU has problems. It does. Like every system, it has problems. But it's much easier to fix the problems from the inside than the outside.
It's so stupid because you guys opted out of the Eurozone. You guys, it's like it was you guys had so much power within, and now you guys try to take yourself out.
Eurozone before.
Mm-hmm.
No, but that's what happened. They were going to put everybody into the Eurozone, and the Brit and UK said no. And I remember even watching the financial markets, they were like, it's going to be a huge disaster. The pound's going to be destroyed. And none of that obviously happened. So, you know.
Well, the reason was that the pound was a good currency in the first place. You know, it's always been high because Britain is one of those economic powers, and it's not laden by weaker economies in Europe. So Greece, for example, and Italy, the lira was like 3,000 lira to the pound or something. You know, way back before the euro came along.
But don't forget too, the pound was also worldwide, though. You know, the British territories overseas were still using pounds, so they still had a lot of it traveled well.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, there weren't the British Empire is long gone, so
yeah, it didn't exactly travel well here.
Yeah, so you know, Canadians and Australians still use dollars, but they've got their own form of dollars. You know, so the main problem, it really comes down to that the Conservative Party had this rift. And so David Cameron tried to silence them once and for all, expecting that they would have, you know, this referendum would, you know, people would remain. But unfortunately, the combination of lies told, you know, through social media, you know, little bit of tinkering around by Russia, people thinking, oh, well, it's a certain thing that it's not, you know, we're not going to leave. So people didn't turn up and vote for it. You know, the combination of the idea that racist people voted to leave, you know, and it doesn't mean to say that all racist people leave, but you can be sure that all the people who voted leave were racists, or the racists voted to leave.
Well, yeah, I watched a documentary about the rise of the UKIP party. Isn't that the racist fuckers?
You might be thinking British National Party or EDL. UKIP started off after the Maastricht Treaty.
They're also still racist.
And they kind of are, but they cloak it in, you know. But effectively, UKIP is made up of the conservative Europhiles. Eurosceptics, you know, so they don't like Europe. And the Conservatives, you know, they had too many people that were pro-Europe, so it's like, okay, fuck them, we're going to go off and create our own party. And so they did. And, you know, so, and when, you know, when things were getting more pro-Europe, that made people move away. And one of the things that happened with the referendum was, you know, after the referendum happened, David Cameron walked away. He said, look, I tried leading the country and I can't lead the country on something I don't believe in. So he resigned. Theresa May took over. Theresa May discovered that she couldn't you know, make some of the policies she wanted to because she was lumbered with David Cameron's manifesto, the platform, you know, the party political platform that they ran under. So, for example, we had the budget, and they wanted to increase income tax for sole traders, so people got their own businesses. And in the manifesto, it said, we're not going to raise income tax. And people pointed out, hang on, your manifesto says this and you're doing that. That's not right. And she kind of panicked and said, snap election. And so they called a snap election. And she lost. And a part of that snap election was to try and suck her back. You know, and this is something the Conservatives have been doing over the last few years. Because once the referendum happened, what's the point in UKIP? UKIP have fallen to pieces. You know, their membership has dropped like a stone, and people have moved back to the Conservatives because it's like, yeah, the Conservatives, they're in power, they're able to, you know, they're the ones that are running the show when it comes to making you know, Brexit happen. So they're sucking them back again.
Oh, okay, so UKIP isn't really a thing now.
Not really, it's dying. I mean, they're still noisy, but they really don't have any strength anymore. I mean, I remember a few years ago where all over the country, UKIP candidates were standing for local councillors and for MPs. And now there are a lot less of them by comparison. They're still trying, but like I say, they're a one-party platform. You know,
Laura,
like Europe, they don't have any transport policy or education policy or military policy or any of that kind of stuff. It's all, how do we get out of Europe? How do we tell the Europeans to fuck off?
hey Laura, what do you think about holding a second referendum? Because the argument now is that people were not informed about the consequences of Europe. For instance, the hard border on Northern Ireland and so forth and so forth. So what do you think? They're saying that now people are actually informed about the consequences of Brexit. Should there be a second referendum?
You didn't watch the video that I made for 2.5 hours on my channel the other day, did you?
No.
My video was saying we need to have a people's vote. Because back in 2016, when we had the referendum, it was okay. You know, we got this vague idea of what it means, and you got politicians saying, you know, are we going to be a part of the customs union? Or are we not going to be a part of the customs union? There are people talking across each other in different ways. You know, what does Brexit mean? And, you know, so we have the referendum, and suddenly, okay, so we're going to leave. Okay, so the government starts, you know, bartering and trying to create a deal with Europe. And then when we finally get a deal, now we know what it looks like. All the politicians are saying, you know, the Brexiteer politicians, the Leave politicians, they're saying, this deal's rubbish. This is terrible. And the people who don't like the idea of leaving, they're also saying, this is terrible. I mean, there was an MP in Parliament who described it. So Theresa May creates this deal, and everyone says, this is awful. And then she goes away and tries to renegotiate it with Europe. And she comes back with a tweaked version of it. And the politician, he's saying, you know, so we had this turd of a deal that has now been taken away and polished and is now a polished turd of a deal. So, so nobody likes it. Nobody likes this deal, and it's the reason why it won't pass. You know, Theresa May has, I mean, it's ironic. She says that leave means leave, and having a second referendum would, you know, damage faith in democracy. And yet she has tried to put the same deal through 3 times, and it isn't happening because nobody likes it. You know, it's ironic that she's saying that you can't have a second chance at this, but she's going for it. She's had a third. So the thing that's different is that now we know what Brexit means, what the parameters are. It's got a shape, whereas before it was just a blobby non thing. It was a general idea. It was a concept. Now we know what it physically looks like. I think that, you know, there should be 3 options. Theresa May's deal, no Brexit. Because if you go, and I use this analogy, if you drive down the road and there's a car dealership on the side of the road, and it's got a sign outside, you can buy a new car for $30 a month or £30 a month, and you think, oh, that's not bad. So you talk to the family, and you natter it out, but by a slim margin, the family decides, we'll buy a new car. So what happens is you go to the dealership, and by the time they stick all the options and the VAT and all these other sorts of things on there, you're actually looking at a worse deal than you thought. So do you say, well, the family said we should just get a new car, and even though this is a shitty deal, we should go for it because we decided? No, you can walk away. You can say, okay, that's a really shitty deal. We'll just fix the old car.
Okay, we got Frustrated Atheists in here. I know Frustrated, you want to get in on the conversation a bit, because I definitely want to go ahead and let everybody have a say-so before we end this. And sorry it took you so long to get in here, man. That's definitely my fault.
Oh, it's not a problem, man. Yeah, I don't have anything to contribute to that part. I do have something on the JFK assassination issue.
Oh, please do.
Well, so like I said, I've done an extensive research on that because that is one of my pet conspiracy theories, because I absolutely love all the different conspiracies that come up around it. And so, like I said in the chat, my theory, the hypothesis that I personally hold to, is the fact that it was indeed a Secret Service member, but unintentionally, because if you actually go through a lot of the different videos, there's one video where you have people filming the entire motorcade before it kind of really takes off, with the Secret Service getting into the vehicle that's like two behind the one that Kennedy is in. And as they're going, you see them with their, getting everything all ready as they're getting into the motor car. And one of them has an actual assault rifle. And as they're going, as they go down the thing, the first shot fires. And you don't see much because, of course, everyone's freaking out because they hear gunshots. But if you pay attention to not only that, you then you have all these other different things that will help kind of put this in perspective, because the theory itself goes that as the Secret Service member who had the rifle was going to turn around to retaliate and return fire, I think what happens is that the car lurches forward as they're trying to speed off, and he might have accidentally shot forward and killed Kennedy, and instead of being able to return fire. Well, if you look at that and then add on to the fact that, as soon as they got out of there, they rushed him to the hospital, where while there are Secret Service members and all other officials that are in the hospital with the doctors trying to get them to expedite this, because at first they're trying to actually take him to the presidential autopsy doctors and whatnot, and they said, no, he cannot move. And so they said, fine, hurry up. And they kept on rushing him. And while they're rushing these doctors to perform around the clock, at that time, we've already apprehended Oswald and have said that this is the man that has killed the president. And they're still over here trying to rush the autopsy while you have other Secret Service members cleaning out the car itself. And once everything is finally said and done, the Secret Service member who actually had the rifle is never heard from again. And in the actual trial, whenever they're trying to piece all the evidence together and whatnot, they ask the Secret Service members, do y'all use rifles, assault rifles and whatnot? And they said, no, we do not. The only weapons we ever use are handguns. And there's video evidence of them actually having assault rifles. And so I think what it was incompetence on the Secret Service members' behalf. But of course, you're not going to want that type of information out to the public, especially to anyone who might be the next president, because you then have an entire group that's supposed to watch you that is incompetent and actually gets you killed. And so, and of course, this is speculation, that part, but it kind of fits with what all evidence there was at the time frame. Just looking at everything, when you put it all in the timeline, it kind of makes sense. And so again, it's just a hypothesis, and that's just my pet hypothesis that I personally hold to, because it's the one that actually kind of fits the evidence and is more realistic than there was a man on the grassy knoll. Oh, well, it was all these other people who were involved and all this other crap. And let's face it, I'm pretty sure, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure there are other times when things have been covered up to kind of help reveal, or kind of help alleviate the, let the people not know about the incompetency of government officials.
There's only one thing I object to about everything that you've said there, Frustrated. Your use of the word "and whatnot," because goddamn it, man.
Look, I'm Texans, and that's what we use. We use whatnot.
Well, then how the hell did G-Man get a hold of it?
He stole it.
You sell it.
Fair enough.
What do they call it? Culture
obviously-
appropriation?
No, I think it was probably in a safe.
but like I was saying, that all seems to fit everything that we know about the case and everything about the incident. And I mean, hell, if you just look at the whole entire aliens from Roswell, with the fact that the government just let the people go wild with the conspiracies because it covered up the incompetence of the high altitude balloon that went down. They're just like, oh shit, well, this went down in a public place. You know what? Let them run with the conspiracy that it was aliens.
You're discounting the conspiracy.
The what?
Conspiracy.
Oh, the
Most conspiracies are actually manufactured by the federal government in order to dumb down the populace and keep them away from what it is they're actually doing.
Yeah.
It's effective.
That is effective because once they finally do say, oh, okay, actually this is what really happened, they're like, oh, that's just what you want us to think.
Well, in the Kennedy case, you don't have to posit anybody like, someone accidentally shooting the president or anything like that. It's literally like the whole magic bullet incident. It's just a matter of both position and movement. That's all it is.
Well, the magic bullet thing is a flawed one because
it is. It's incredibly flawed, and that's the reason why is that they positioned Kennedy in a place in the vehicle where he wasn't.
Well, not only that, but then the official that had gotten shot, if you actually look at the motor car where he was in, he was actually in a position that was indeed lower, and the position he turned to look at the president would have made that the bullet's trajectory to be a straight path.
Well, no. The whole thing is the seats in the back were higher than the seats in the front.
Oh yeah,
they're literally higher. I mean, if you look here,
it's not just that. Is that the first shot went through Kennedy, I think, and hit someone else, and the way that a lot of conspiracy theorists argue it is that would be impossible given where they were sitting within the vehicle. However, they just get where they were sitting in the vehicle wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of people are suckered by the movie JFK.
Oh yeah.
And like I say, they don't have the car being at the same height, the seats being at the same height. So you can see Jackie here and the lady in front. You can see how her shoulder is significantly higher. His shoulder, his neckline, is considerably higher than the guy in the front, and you can see how this steps up as well. So, you can see the height difference just there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we are going to continue this conversation another time, folks. Discord is open, but I do need to end this. I want to thank all people for joining, and y'all have a good night.
Bye.
Later, all.